We are going to the art supply store, but first we get to sit through some traffic. Yes.
Okay, we've got larger ones and this,
cleaner.
yeah, they're pipe cleaners.
Okay.
Or Chanel pipe cleaners.
So apparently this thing is called a pipe cleaner.
You know, like a paper clip with fuzz around
Explain it like a paper clip with a fur on it. This is what I need.
You're funny.
Thank you.
I love it.
All right, a little more traffic and then back home. All right, today we are going to learn how a car works, and specifically we're going to learn how a gasoline engine car works. So whether it's a Ferrari or a Honda or a Toyota, this is how the engine, the big metal thing underneath the hood of any car, makes the wheels of the car turn. First thing you need to do is imagine an explosion. When an explosion occurs, things go flying in every direction, up, down, left, right, away from that explosion. Now let's say we have a strong metal trash can that can withstand that explosion, and we put a bomb inside of that trash can. When that bomb goes off, that explosion is going to send things flying upwards, right? And if we cover that trash can's top with a lid and put a bomb in there, well, it'll blow that lid off. What I want you to understand is that explosions can be used to move things. Inside the engine of your car, there are cylinders just like this one, and there are explosions, but what are those explosions moving? Let's build upon our trash can analogy, and let's say that we have a bomb inside of a trash can, right? But instead of having a lid that fits on top of the trash can, we're going to create a lid that's a little too small for that trash can. So when we try to put it on, it slides into the trash can. And of course, when this bomb goes off, it's going to blow that lid out of the trash can, right? Now let's imagine that we connect that lid to a rod, okay? Let's continue to build on our design and install a crankshaft. So I need you to imagine that this thing is this thing, okay? At this point, I'd like to pause and just clarify. So far, we've got our cylinder and we've got our piston, the lid inside of the trash can and the rod. This is called a piston and this is called a rod. And then we've got our explosion. When you're trying to understand a new concept, it's important to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. And in the case of an automobile, here, let's pretend that there's a cylinder here. So this is the trash can, and this is the trash can lid that we've got inside. So what's happening is there's an explosion, and it's moving that piston in an up and down motion. And that's the challenge we face. So how do we get something that's moving in this way to turn wheels in this way? And the answer to that question is this thing. This is called a crankshaft, okay? Now let's again imagine that my arm is the piston, and this is the piston rod, and it is connected to this thing, the crankshaft. Now, every time there's an explosion and there's an up and down motion, there's also rotation occurring. The more explosions that occur, the more rotations occur. The whole point of the engine, of all those explosions inside of cylinders, inside of your engine, is to make metal parts rotate. In fact, if you look at your dashboard, you've probably seen a tachometer, which is a thing that has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and RPM written on it. The tachometer measures how many full rotations an engine's crankshaft is making. So when a car is idling, most cars idle at about 700 or 800 RPMs, which means that crankshaft is rotating 700 times in a minute. Under acceleration, a car's engine is running at about 3,000 RPM. The Honda S2000's engine can rev up to 9,000 RPM, whereas a race car, an Indy car's engine, can rev up to 12,000 RPM. That's a lot of rotation, which means there are a lot of explosions going on underneath the hood of your car. And that also explains why it doesn't sound like there are explosions going on. The reason being that one explosion sounds like a bang, but hundreds of explosions sound like a humming or a buzzing sound. Also, vehicle engines have been refined over the past 100 or so years to be quieter and smoother and vibration free, but the underlying technology is still the same. It's just explosions rotating metal parts. Now you might be wondering, well, okay, so there's rotation. Is this thing connected to your wheel? How do all these explosions and rotations make your wheels turn? Well, the crankshaft is not connected to your wheels. It gets a little bit more complicated. If you can understand that the piston can rotate the crankshaft, what you need to understand is that if we connect other metal parts to this metal part, to the crankshaft, then we can make those metal parts spin as well. So if we have a drive shaft and we connect that drive shaft to this spinning crankshaft, then we can make the drive shaft rotate as well. Let's draw a car from up above. So here's our trash can, here's the lid, here is that pipe cleaner. This is the top of the car, and here are your rear wheels, okay? So what happens is explosions go on in the cylinder. Those explosions move metal parts that rotate metal parts. Those metal parts rotate a big long metal pole called a drive shaft. That drive shaft runs underneath the length of your car. That drive shaft rotates gears that are inside of the differential. Those differential gears rotate the axles that are connected to your wheels, and then finally your wheels rotate forward. I should also mention that there isn't one cylinder underneath the hood of your car. A typical vehicle has a 4-cylinder engine. And you have to think of that engine as being a big metal block with a bunch of cylinders bored out of it, okay? And those explosions occur inside of those cylinders. Think of it as 4 big strong metal trash cans that can withstand those explosions. And there's a piston and a connecting rod and a crankshaft. Basically, explosions move metal parts that move other metal parts, and finally the wheels turn. If you're wondering what causes those explosions, obviously there's no bomb underneath the hood of your car. There are 2 parts that make those explosions happen. The first one being a fuel injector. The way to think of a fuel injector is think of it as a little spray bottle that sprays a little tuft of gasoline vapor right before an explosion needs to occur. The other part, the spark plug, and the spark plug is something you want to think of as a lighter flint. It creates a little bit of a spark right before that gasoline ignites. So gas vapor combined with that spark equals the explosion. The faster you go, the more explosions have to occur. That's why when you step on the gas pedal in your car, you hear the engine becoming noisier and noisier as you go faster and faster. Now, of course, there are other things going on underneath the hood of a car. There are valves, there are belts, there are different complicated ways to make different sorts of engines. But if you can understand this foundational element of explosions, rotating metal parts that rotate other metal parts, then you can understand all the other stuff. Everything else makes sense when you understand the foundation. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. Please like and subscribe, and of course, if you're in the market for a used car, you want to learn how to buy one properly, it's the 2nd largest purchase you'll make in your life. Make sure you do a good job. Check out startingcars.com, and I will see you next time.